PTBO Sports Show, available wherever you do your downloading on social media channels and, of course, your TV, Peterborough. Lindsay, I am your host, Jordan Mercier, alongside Mark Million, and producer Maddie is here as well. If you want to come down and see us, you can do that. 370 George Street here at the Capital PTBO. Yep. Mark Million, what is going on, my man? How are you?
Well, we may have a new drink sponsor, so that's why I was putting drink in my coffee mug.
Okay.
Kind of like Letterman style.
Yep.
But they're not an official sponsor, so I don't really want to show them on the air yet.
Fair.
But so Under the Table is that's the name of the game, Under the Table.
I remember, so when Sportsnet started airing most of their radio shows, that was something they were very conscious of, is having Tim Hortons mugs.
Yeah.
And like they would have to, I remember McCowan doing I don't want to do this, but you'd have to pour it into like a nondescript cup.
Yeah.
So that's basically what you've done.
That's just exactly what I did.
That's right.
Yeah. They'd always have to make sure like it's on point. Like how much, Mercier, you're a man in the know. How much is something like a sponsorship like that work? Like to get a Maxwell House or a McDonald's on breakfast television to get them. What is McDick's paying for something like that?
A lot of money.
Is it a lot of money?
It would be a lot of money. There would be promos tossed into the morning show probably.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's all part of a
I know we've been talking about
package.
Sponsorship, and you're wondering if we were both to wear a hat of a company, like what would that be worth? I think if you and I were doing that, I think your TV adds a little bit of value there, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But we could get $15 if you want your...
Yeah, I think your TV probably adds more value than the guy behind the mic. So there's that.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Producer Maddie, what's going on over there, brother?
Not much. Beautiful week here in Peterborough. Downtown patios I saw on my way in. Somehow I found a parking spot first try today, even though there's less parking spots. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's strange. Every day we come down here to the store, and like normally I get down here 9:30, 0 parking spaces, like even right into the loading zone. Usually, I mean, you guys know, like usually you've got to circle the block. I mean, if you just walk over from the station, it's one thing, but yeah, beautiful today. Patio set out in front of the LP. Getting ready to rock downtown here.
We have a bunch of topics we need to get to. Of course, the NBA Finals we'll pay attention to. Back by popular demand, fair or foul. Got an interesting soundbite, a couple of them on the show, including one from Ryan Whitney. And Peterborough is your exclusive home for Spit and Chicklets and Pink Whitney.
That's right.
So I figured we should have invited him when he was stranded at Pearson Airport. I don't know why we didn't.
We should have got him a Y Drive, right? Y Drive, shout out, Robbie.
Yes.
Get him down here. Listen, you can stay here for the night, man. Like maybe not here at the shop.
Bring out a cot, do a podcast.
Sure, whatever. Yeah, whatever you're into. Yeah.
We'll talk about that because I don't have a similar story, but I've got a very bad airport story that I want to share with everybody. And it was on my honeymoon. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. But we do need to start with some hockey talk. And before we get to the Eastern Conference Final, which we know is still going, let's look back on the Western Conference Final. The Colorado Avalanche completed the sweep earlier this week of the Edmonton Oilers. If you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, how are you looking at this result? How are you looking at this season? Are you satisfied? Did they exceed expectations, or are you disappointed because you had 2 players basically playing at historical levels and you were unable to not be swept in the semifinals?
I think for me, there's like 3 touchstone Oilers moments. So early in the season, Gretz comes out and says, Toronto and Edmonton are so close. They're so close to winning. And, you know, you start to, you look at it on paper and you think, okay, you know, young superstars, kind of like a middling sort of team that hasn't really emerged all the way. Then you got to February and it was an absolute disaster. You know, Draisaitl and McDavid are having it out with, the hockey writers and these sorts of things. They're in this scoop. Like, I think they had lost like 9 of 10 or something. And you start to think, oh my gosh, the wheels are falling off. And then you see, you know, right into the sunshine, you see the 2 best players on their team have a historic, for lack of a better term, you know, a 3-round playoff series that I'm pretty sure probably was better than expected. They were hoped for, certainly, but I think better than expected. So strange in the beginning, you had that, you know, from Gretz, who I don't take his things lightly. Like, I think he's got a pretty good grasp, pretty good handle on today's game. And then you go from the train wreck. So I think all in all, if you look at it over the course of the entire thing, I think it's a good season. If the Oilers get a goaltender, and I mean a goaltender, not a guy that can play goal, a guy that is a goaltender, this team can run it back, and you could have a Colorado-Edmonton fierce rivalry.
So that would be the one frustrating point if I was a fan, is that the holes seem to be extremely fixable. You have what everybody covets, and that is two superstars.
Yeah.
Connor McDavid for sure, Draisaitl, borderline generational with some of the numbers that they've been able to put up.
Yeah.
That's the frustrating point. And then all year long, people are like, boy, they need to upgrade in goal.
Yeah.
They need to upgrade in goal. Somehow they need to do. And Kenny Holland just said, well, no, we're going to stay with Mike Smith. I mean,
and
did Fleury work out in Minnesota? Not necessarily, but I'm sure there's a lot of fans that would have preferred them to take that shot.
Sure. Is he a welcome addition over Mike Smith or Koskinen? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And what could you have got him for? He's a rental price.
Yep.
Even though you're only going to get him for that 3-month or 2-month period, right? It's not like he's going to re-sign in Minnesota after they jobbed him.
I think getting swept sort of distorts it, because I agree with exactly what you said, which was, I think if you're Edmonton, given the struggles that they had early on in the season, you say, wow, you're going to make it to the conference final. You're going to dispatch your arch rivals in the second round. You're going to look back fondly on this season.
Yep.
Fleury got traded for a conditional second.
Yeah,
which
right.
would have been a first if Minnesota made the conference final.
But then you get swept, and now you're doing did they really deserve to get swept? Some of the games were close. Ultimately, Colorado, a better team top to bottom, for sure. But it's never good to be closed out on your home ice.
No.
And you can kind of see that on a goal that I'm sure there's some in Edmonton who are still saying, like, it was a high stick. Like, it was certainly close.
Yeah, that's right. Oh,
Certainly
absolutely.
very close to a high stick.
Yeah.
And you had a lead in that game, right? Like, they were up and they had chances at home to at least make the series more competitive, but they were just unable to do it. It came out today that Leon Draisaitl was playing with a high ankle sprain. And if you were watching him, I don't know if I've ever seen really anything like what we saw. There's been instances of players playing injured. We've seen that, of course. I'm a Red Wings fan. You go back to 2002, Stevie's basically on one knee every time he's getting down, he's grimacing.
Yeah.
But as much as I love Stevie, he wasn't putting up 33 points before the Stanley Cup final, which was pretty incredible. So anyone, again, Draisaitl will always kind of be in the shadow of Connor McDavid for a number of reasons. I think McDavid is a better player. He's obviously a Canadian product, so that's going to be a little bit of bias in that. But what we watched him do in this postseason, I thought was pretty remarkable.
I think that on the Edmonton side of the ledger, I don't think there's much to change. They got some interesting questions. Like Evander Kane. Is Kane, is he unsignable, or is he a guarantee, like a lock to come back? I don't think either of those are clear.
And he was really good in the playoffs.
That's what I mean.
Before he did something boneheaded.
Right. So do you take him back at 12 goals? You take him back for that reason because he scored the 12 goals and he seemed to have some magic working there.
Like maybe if you're Ken, you've already weathered the PR storm that is Evander Kane, so now people are sort of used to it.
But the first iteration that something goes south, and not to say that it would, but if it did, if something goes south with Evander, it's going to be, and winning cures everything. So I think he'll get a pass now. Evander worked out for them. I don't know. That's the goaltending's tough. Evander's tough. Tyson Barrie, I think he's a free agent too.
I think Kane gets re-signed. Like, he was still almost point per game in the regular season when he played for. I think it was 39 points in 42 games. Like,
good player, obviously has baggage, and there's people who say he probably shouldn't be playing at all. That being said, it seems like McDavid was on board with the signing. He came out and took some heat at the press conference saying, like, hey, we want to win hockey games, which actually was refreshingly honest when he said that, even though he did take some slings and arrows for it.
Sure.
Good hypothetical with Connor McDavid. He ends off at 34 points. Would he have gotten to 47 if they make the Cup final? I think he probably has to. No?
I don't know. That's a big number.
I think if those series go like 6 or 7 each,
Yeah, I think if they don't get swept, like if they go 6 with Colorado, I think he gets to the conference and they win. He's
going
at least
back 40 going into the final.
Right, he's 40, 42 going to the final.
Yeah.
You're going to have a 50-point playoff.
which I never thought for the life of me we'd ever be talking about that possibility.
50-point playoff. Like, holy smoke. And Connor got shut out in the one game.
He did. The only player who ever had more points and did not make it to the Stanley Cup final.
Middleton?
Little preview of the Way Back Wednesday quiz. No, Dougie Gilmour in 93.
Oh.
Had 35. Before Gretz picked up the hat trick at Maple Leaf Gardens.
See, they had 3 7-game series that year.
Yes, they did, which is totally different. That's right. They were the first team that had to almost do that to be able to make it.
Yeah, because the Oilers had, a 7, a 5, and a 4.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part, was 2 of those series weren't long.
No.
Yeah, right.
No, weirdly high scoring, but certainly not long.
Yeah.
Colorado, we talked about it. I mean, this team's a wagon top to bottom. It's hard-pressed to point out a direct weakness. Of course, you're always going to lend yourself to a look in net, but what we are seeing from Cale Makar, 5-point game and a closeout effort.
Yeah. Scored the opening goal.
We keep going back to Wayne Gretzky, which we are doing because it's playoff hockey, but he's also on the TNT panel.
Yeah.
And he said the only player that he remembers that sort of does both of this well at both ends of the ice is Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
So immediately people are like, okay, come on, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Right.
But that just goes to show you, I mean, the respect level that he has, and he's just been remarkable to watch. And I don't know, I don't watch a lot of Colorado games anymore. They're out west and, whatever. That being said, like, it's been fun watching them through the playoffs and getting used. You knew about McKinnon, and I knew about Landeskog from before, and I'm sure I'm going to carve out a little Darren Helm time here coming up here momentarily. But I have to say that I've been super impressed with Cale Makar.
Yeah.
And I always go back to Victor Hedman being the best defenseman overall. I think, he's found his game again in the Rangers series. Wasn't good early on in the Rangers series. And actually against Toronto, I thought he got caught a couple of times on breaks. But
That's right.
Cale Makar is definitely in a very short conversation.
I think he changes the, what we've been used to, the defensive, the generation for us, Chara, and Victor Hedman. I mean, 2 huge guys. Nick Lidstrom, just foundational, foundation-wise, he was fundamentalist at defense. Makar is different. He's in another way, right? I mean, he's not. He didn't score the most points for any defenseman in the NHL this year, but he's got that ability to go from 1 to 100, 5 points in the final. He's a beauty.
Darren Helm, I wasn't joking.
I know.
I've got a big part of Darren Helm here, who is one of my favorite Red Wings ever. At one point, Mike Babcock said he was the best third-line player in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
He's had an interesting career. He spent a lot of years in Grand Rapids, and Detroit used to like to draft players and basically keep them in the minors till they were like 22, 23.
That's right.
He was one of the rare exceptions that actually scored his first career goals in the playoffs before he was even on the regular season team in 2008. Scores a winner to send them to the Stanley Cup final in 2009. Never really been back, sort of middling. And I just cheer for a guy like that. And actually, I don't know if he only has 2 points in the playoffs, but one of them was the winner against St. Louis.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he picked up the assist on the OT goal the other night.
Oh,
So,
that's right. He did. Yeah.
I kind of feel dirty because this is, maybe I'm speaking to my Red Wing fans out there, that I don't hate this Colorado team, even though I'm kind of supposed to.
He's got 4 points, yeah.
But it feels like, I don't know, Matt, you feel very similar with Montreal and Toronto, where once you get further away from the rivalry, you tend to appreciate it more. And yes, I will never cheer for Claude Lemieux or Peter Forsberg. But that being said, like, I don't hate anybody that's on this current Colorado team. So I feel weird about that. And I'm being judged online by the Red Wings Mafia because I am saying, not that I'm cheering for Colorado, but that I don't mind if Colorado won. Like, it wouldn't scar my day.
It's a different Avalanche.
Different Avalanche,
This is a different era.
Different conferences now. Like, they'll never really meet head-to-head in any meaningful game,
right.
I don't think, for a really, really long time.
No.
So that's sort of where I'm at. I'm curious where you're at on the idea of touching the trophy after you win. So they win the Campbell Conference Trophy, and they touched it, which I think in previous years, going back a number, it's been don't touch it. Don't smile in the picture. Yeah. Our mission's not done.
Yeah.
But Colorado said, no, we're going to touch it. Who cares?
Right.
Like,
I think you can I think that a lot of times that sort of stuff is hyperbole. And I mean, I guess if you are unbelievably superstitious, then maybe. Okay,
which I'm sure some of these guys are.
Some of these guys are. But at the end of the day, you won it. Everybody knows it's not the mission. Everybody knows that's not the goal, is to get to the cup final and lose. Okay, so you grab the cup, whatever. You don't fly around the ice with it.
Wasn't it Trevor Linden picked it up and the lid fell off?
Yeah, that's right. Lid fell off. Yeah,
They
so
had to weld it on.
I wouldn't put too much stock in that. It doesn't matter.
Matt, yay or nay? I should have left that one for fair or foul, but touching the conference championship trophy.
For it. Enough teams have not touched it and lost in the finals anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I think the Penguins touched it. They won. Joe Sakic touched it way back when. They won.
Real quick on Sakic, I know we don't have time for this, but just real quick, the Nugent Hopkins bit, did you see that where they asked him, are you a fan of Joe Sakic? And he said, when I was a kid, I was a huge fan. And so they're both from Burnaby, BC.
Yeah.
And so they go to a Stanley Cup party, and Nuge just told at 10 years old, no, you don't touch the cup.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like a 10-year-old kid.
By Joe Sakic?
No,
just
but by
his
one of his dudes. You don't touch it, you didn't win.
And that just stuck with him for years.
So Nuge is I hope now I get to touch it on the, but just, I just think of the optics of that, 10-year-old kid. You mind if I touch it, mister? No. Go on.
Yeah,
I like it, I like that. I'm a big believer in if you've never won it, you shouldn't touch it. That should be hallowed ground.
I was okay with that, and then they trumpeted on to TNT, and Shaq's had it.
I know
over his
that's
head.
that's what I mean.
I thought that was the big thing was no one was supposed to lift it over your head if you haven't done it.
I could get behind that actually. I mean, putting your arm around it or whatever.
I went to a Stanley Cup party. Joe Neuendijk, who's from Whitby, and he brought it to Iroquois Park Sports Arena, and I was a 10-year-old boy in Whitby in '99, and he won the Conn Smythe Trophy, and they did a big banner unveiling, and that was great. And I don't. This is funny to say, and it's an era gone by, but I don't think my parents had a camera at the time. So you just sort of wait in line. I got an autograph on a Whitby Wildcat stick, mini stick.
Sure.
And then I kind of touched it, and that was it.
Yeah.
I always tell my wife, I was like, some of my greatest memories don't need to have pictures of them. They live up here.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's it. But now everything's selfie, blah, blah,
blah. Beforehand, you had to remember the batteries for the Vivitar.
Yeah.
So what you need to do, you had to put the flash cubes in.
Shift our attention to the Eastern Conference Final, where we have an interesting series. The home team 4-0, going into game number 5. The New York Rangers decided underdogs in that one. I feel in real time, not that they're done, but I thought the Rangers let a real opportunity slide when they were up 2-0 in game 3.
Yeah,
felt like Tampa Bay. When they got rolling, they got the late goal to end up winning it, not even going into overtime. And I just felt like that was one that, man, you had a real chance. And then they come back in game 4, and that's a game that Tampa Bay just was not going to lose. They just weren't going to lose that game. And they haven't lost that game in a long time.
Hey, guys.
So I felt like the Rangers, even though it was they lost, and now they're only up 2-1, I felt like that game 3 loss was actually pretty staggering.
I know that game 4 is always, it's always important because of the closeout game, but I feel like when you're up 2 games to none, that's when you've got to throw everything at this team.
Yeah.
Because getting them to 3-0, statistically it's happened 4 times out of 200.
Yeah. That
a team's come all the way back.
Yeah.
Throwing everything at them in game 3 should be paramount. Now look what you've got. And they did. Tampa Bay, but it was the inverse. Tampa Bay threw 51 shots at Chesterkin. So now you're on the doorstep of game 5. Best of 3, and you got to play 2 in New York. But how many times have you counted out Tampa Bay? Coming out of the first round, going to the second round. Jeepers, I think Florida's going to give them a run. Well, Tampa went home, after 6 days. So I don't know. I still don't get the vibe from the Rangers like they can do it. But me feeling that way makes me know that they're going to do it. I know that.
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch. If you're the National Hockey League, I don't think you can lose in the matchup you're going to get in the final, but I still think you might. I don't know. Do you want New York in there? I mean, you kind of want New York in there, don't you?
Where are the
Florida, Colorado?
Yeah, I know, but you could play the parallels there. You can bring JVB back.
Yeah.
You can make Johnny Van Beesbrook back. You can make Yui Krupp in there. You can bring these guys back.
And I realized I said Florida. I meant taking place in the state of Florida. I know it's Tampa Bay.
So,
of course.
Where do they sit in when the New York Times?
Yeah.
When they open the sports section, the Rangers are in the Cup final, and the way the Judge and Stanton are mashing baseballs, and the way that the Mets are playing, the Rangers are on page 3
Probably still behind the Knicks.
Yeah, right. Because Dolan will probably do something wild,
dumb, and Charles Oakley will fight him. And
sure,
yeah.
So I think it's probably on paper, it's probably good to have it in New York, but I think the storyline's way tighter on Tampa Bay, a three-peat. You're on the precipice of something that hasn't been done in 40 years.
Everyone knows that I've been sort of on the Rangers wagon early on. Can I just say, when Chris Kreider the other night scored his 34th playoff goal, and that equaled the franchise mark, that is a flaccid franchise mark.
It is.
That is, for an original six team that's been around the block.
Well, that's it. But early on, I mean, they went from 1939 to 94 without a cup.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of steep and rich tradition of Stanley Cup finals. So, or even Stanley Cup playoffs for that matter, or even in his original six. Like, you have Chuck Rayner, maybe started in 41. Andy Bathgate comes along. Like, these aren't exactly marquee. And then once you got to the goal a game guys, you got to Rattel and Hadfield and Roger Bear. Then you started to put some stuff together. But even then,
it shocked me that 34 would be the leading marker because, as you said, the cups in totality haven't been there, but they've made it. Mm-hmm. They've made it enough. Like, I feel like if you look back, like, they definitely there in 79. They probably, maybe they had a few in the 40s. I don't know. But anyways, it just struck me as, like, for an original six team to have 34 as your franchise record.
It's not great.
It's tough. Let's switch to another original six team, and that is the Boston Bruins. Firing Bruce Cassidy. The Bruins went to the Stanley Cup final in 2019, had a 245, 108, and 46 regular season record under Cassidy.
Yeah.
I think he becomes the top free agent. I think he's even more so than Barry Trotz.
Really?
I think so. I'm not sure what happened. Obviously, maybe a disagreement about the direction of the team. Elliot Friedman came out, said that they're going to have conversations with David Pasternak because he's entering the final year on his deal. What do they do with him? Do they move him? Patrice Bergeron, he's sort of stayed mum. So that's, anyways, wacky things going on. If we were looking at top tier teams in the Eastern Conference that I think are poised to kind of take the step back and regress to the mean, if you will, I think it's the Boston Bruins. Like, I think they're the ones that are going to be, and they've had a really good program, and they've been really good for 15 years, basically.
They've got some great young pieces too that they can develop. So, I mean, if this is going to be a teardown, Cassidy, you got to think, I mean, a different voice in the room or something like that. But the guy won, 2.5 times more games than he lost. Yeah, that's pretty successful in most franchises. But young goaltending, they've got some decent young kids on the back end. With McAvoy, they've got some playoff hardened guys already that are fairly young, like Krug and, Passer. I can appreciate Marchand and Bergeron and these guys, and maybe it's time for, maybe let's exercise. Brad will become Corey Perry.
Just
right?
jump around.
I think he will. Yeah, I think he'll be. Those guys will start. Perry will get a job again next year if Tampa doesn't. Even if they do it, unless Corey calls it a career. But I think there's still a market for that. Tough times for Bruins though.
It's an interesting time too.
It really
is.
I'm
sure we're going to get more of the fallout on that one. Speaking of fallout, we need an update on the Capital PTBO $1,000 bracket challenge, supported by our friend Dave Dixon of IG Wealth Management. And
I just pulled it up.
Lopsided. When I think of lopsided defeats, I mean, I think of...
You watch yourself here.
Germany, Brazil.
I think of Germany, Brazil. I think of UNLV laying it on teams back in the early 90s and March Madness. And now I think about the Buzzman laying it all over his kid.
So
not good.
Not even close to being good is the real problem. So, thank you, Matthew.
You saw the writing on the wall.
Well, I mean, I was down 70 points after the opening night of round 3, and I knew I had seen the advanced stats, the advanced metrics where I only had Evander Kane left, and my dad also had Kane and McDavid and McKinnon and Landeskog and Hagel and Colton. So it was okay. But how things have changed quickly in a week. So Bet365 unofficial what we had was the unofficial 2-horse race. There's a third horse now.
Oh.
Somebody's come for all the way back.
Find that bird all the way from the back rail.
Yeah. So, initially, rest in peace, Garrett Sackerty. Sachs had a great run, all in on the Oilers, and that's a strategy that paid off. He ended up putting 198 points on the board.
Wow,
that's a big number considering. I think he's one behind the Buzzman at 199. But Shane Forbes has put together a week. This guy's 52 points in 6 nights.
Jeez.
So he's got a commanding lead over my sister. It's weird how it's a family affair, and I know that, but anyways. So right now, going to the final, and you got Rick Doyle. So
that's my nemesis.
He laid the smackdown on Jordan.
He laid the
smackdown on me.
Right. So Rick Doyle is he's a radio star killer. He is. And but he's got Tampa Bay and he's got a couple of Rangers left. So if he can get that now, he's got to get a bunch of points to catch Sackerty. But in the final, you're going to have Garrett, if he beats Rick, 198 points with nobody left. So he's out. Shane Forbes is only 10 points behind the Buzzman. 199, 189. But Forbes has Colorado and the Rangers.
Jeez.
He'd have both teams guarantee himself 8 points. And then on the other side, we don't want to lay any disrespect to Team Prov or Dustin Clark. Still fighting it out, 128, 120. Boys are still fighting hard there to get in the fourth slot, but I think both those matchups will finish a distant third.
That is an update on the Capital PTBO $1,000 bracket challenge. And of course, it is made possible by our good friend Dave Dixon of IG Wealth Management, who is going to be joining the program in a couple of weeks.
That's right.
We're going to get Diamond Dave in here.
Yeah.
And we're going to grill him about everything. I want to know about finances.
Yeah.
I want to know about his trips to WrestleMania. Like, he's been all over the place.
This guy's well-traveled, absolutely.
Got Raptors tickets. Like, he's...
Yeah. He's got a great story about the Kawhi shot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll ask him about that.
We're going to get into all of that coming up. So shout out to our man, Dave Dixon. All right. That exhausts the hockey talk for now. I do have an email coming up about that. But switching gears, the NBA Finals. It's the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. And so far, much like the rest of the NBA Finals, I haven't been totally compelled to what I've seen. It was interesting to see Boston roll such a good comeback in game number 1. Golden State answers with that. What are your thoughts early on about this matchup? And ratings-wise, not exactly a hit at this point.
Yeah. When I saw the defense that Boston played opening night, I know that you can't play that for 7 games. You just can't. And those guys, when you've got the kind of killers they've got, I mean, Clay hasn't exactly been Clay just yet. Steph has been Steph.
Yep.
Jordan Poole's really emerged. Yep. He's going to be a killer. But you can't continue to play like that. So when you get a 19-point win in game 2, not exactly surprising. Hard to watch. I don't know. For me, it is. I don't really get that special feeling inside about what, because there's no legacy play for me here. I don't really have a dog in the fight. So for me, it's entertaining. I'll give it that.
Producer Maddie?
This series should feel like a passing of the guard. It should feel like Jason Tatum's getting his due.
Wow, really?
Well, it should, but it doesn't. And
yeah, okay.
We had last week on Fair or Foul, you asked about the break before the NBA Finals. And I said, it's fair if the Super Bowl takes 2 weeks off.
You've done a 180 here.
No, I'm still fine with the break in between the conference finals and the finals, but the 2 games or 2 days between games is brutal.
Yeah.
Kills me.
I watch a game Sunday. I don't want to wait till Wednesday to watch another one.
Right. And then you're going to wait till next Sunday for game 4.
Yeah, what are we doing here? It's stretched out longer than Game of Thrones.
But they love that. But that's the NBA metric, right? That's Sunday night absolutely roundhouses anything else that's on.
Yep.
It's on TV.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. So that's why the boys do it. They love it. But you can't play, a best of 7 over 3 weeks.
You talked about no legacy play here. This was an interesting quote by general manager of Golden State, Bob Myers, who says he's tired of having to defend Steph Curry's legacy. This is the direct quote. It's so sad that we have to defend him. He's a made man. Forget about this final. It's already been done. He's already done it. He's already proven it. I don't know what he has to do to continue to prove. He said that on the morning roast.
Yeah, and I saw that quote and I thought to myself, like, defend him from who? About what? Who's honestly grilling Steph?
Is he angry that we're saying Steph is not LeBron? Because Steph's not LeBron.
Steph's nowhere close to LeBron. But LeBron's also not Michael.
Yeah.
You know, so each guy is evaluated
you're chomping at the bit to get in over
above
here.
their peers here. So, you know, from my standpoint, I look at it and I think, well, okay, what is he? 3-1 in NBA Finals. The guy is
3-2.
3-2.
Yeah, they lost to the Cavs and then they lost to the Raptors.
Oh, the Raps. That's right. Oh, I forget about.
How do you forget about that
Hometown
one?
team,
Well,
baby.
because you know
that one didn't feel right to you.
well,
Durant injury and
yeah,
stuff.
Durant injury, Clay injury. Like you beat Steph and the Twisted Sisters, but I don't know. Like the guy is far and away the generational 3-point shooter beyond reproach. I don't know where Bob thinks that, like, no, that's my guy. Like, well, we know he's the best.
One of his other guys is Draymond Green. And Draymond Green, whose press conferences are usually pretty entertaining. He's an entertaining guy. He's well-spoken. And he has a very successful podcast.
Yeah, he
that's gaining
does.
a little bit of traction. Here's what he had to say about the constant critique of yesteryear. I think it was Gary Payton this week who came out and said, nah, the 90s were better because we used to actually throw bows at each other and all this kind of stuff. And here's what Draymond had to say at a press conference.
One thing that baffles me about the 80s or the 90s or whatever you want to call when basketball was so much more physical is some of the guys that be talking weren't the guys that was punching people. You know, like they act like, you know, guys was just walking around the court like I'm hitting this guy in the nose. There were a few guys back then that would lay you out, that would knock you out, that would foul you and get thrown out the game. Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn. But everybody running around acting like they were that. Y'all were getting bullied. And so it baffles me when every guy, just because they played in the 80s, just because they played in the 90s, is like, man, if you played in our day, you get knocked out. Like, no, not really, because it wouldn't be you. So, okay, you saying Rick Mahorn would have knocked me out. Rick Mahorn probably knocks you out. Like, Bill Laimbeer probably lays you out. You know, one thing that baffles me.
I think he kind of makes sense in some of those comments. I think he left out Charles Oakley and a few other names.
I think there was a couple of guys. Yeah, sure.
It was watching, and you probably watched it a little closer than I did because I was a bit younger, but it was just different kind of basketball. And I feel like this is the argument that anyone who was watching hockey in the 70s would go back and be like, the players aren't the same like they were in the 60s. And before that, it was, wow, the players aren't the same like they were in the 50s.
Sure.
Teeter Kennedy used to get hit in the head with a stick and then come back.
Right.
I feel like there's some of that going on here.
Sure.
The 3-point shot has probably turned off a lot of those athletes from that era.
Yeah.
It was a specialty shot. It was, not something that you would take 20 of in a game. That would be pretty rare. I think Larry Bird led the league in 3-pointers a bunch of times with like 80. Like it just wasn't part of it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's their refusal to acknowledge the evolution of the game. I don't know why there seems to be this culture war, but I kind of embrace it. It gives people like me and you something to talk about.
Yeah, I think Gary Payton probably
the glove.
I doubt that the glove experienced much hate playing in Seattle. He would have played Detroit probably twice a year, maybe once. It's also a different game, right? Like you didn't have the same. Like that was the uniqueness of Shaq when he came in.
Yeah,
was you weren't gonna. You go back and look at the early 90s Bulls, which is probably the easiest iteration when, the guys that are playing in the middle, like Bill Cartwright, Horace Grant, like then Shaq comes along and the guy is 300 pounds and there's nobody that's going to play. Like nobody's the Hack-a-Shaq thing. They only did it because he couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
But there was so these guys like Bill Lambier and these guys, okay, I can appreciate maybe in the 80s you were going to clothesline a guy. And we always talk about how in the 80s everything was, when you look back on something, it was always harder. It was always a grind.
Always.
Give me a break.
No matter what.
Michael still was Michael. And Isaiah won twice because the Pistons were great, not because Lambier and Joe Dumars and the boys were hard. Rodman were hard to play.
Speaking of just looking back at yesteryear, there was a clip on, I want to say YouTube. It was Jack Nicholson. Everyone knows Jack Nicholson, who used to, I guess he still does, go to Lakers. And it's the 84 finals, Lakers and Celtics. And they're telling some story about how actually he hitched a ride back on the Celtics plane for whatever reason. I don't remember the scenario. But it's just an ISO on Jack, and it is Brent Musburger doing the intro.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, here's Jack Nicholson and ML Carr. They were getting into it on the plane. And there's Jack just courtside, just smoking a cigarette.
Now,
And it was something that was just so amazing. It puts you directly back into a point in time.
Yeah.
Where it was just like Jack could just ash out on the floor.
you see, the fan was harder.
Well,
Gary Payton got it wrong.
We talked a few weeks ago about Guy Lafleur smoking during games too.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was a thing.
But Jack sitting courtside, though,
That's awesome.
the fan was harder in the day. Not the player, Gary. It was the fan.
The fan was much harder back
Jeepers.
then. Kyle Lowry's conditioning wasn't up to snuff, according to Pat Riley.
Which is really something.
He says he'll definitely have to address that. It will be addressed. I didn't realize that Pat Riley, when he went from the Knicks to Miami in '95, he kind of brought with him, he was one of the first waves of coaches and executives who really put the stress on everyone has to be like super fit.
Yeah, that's
all
right.
the time. Because you used to get some players, right? Like, tractor trailer or whatever. Like,
Sure.
you have these bigger guys. This has always been something for Pat Riley. For him to throw the shot across the bow of a championship level player who's been around a while.
Yeah,
He's not
right.
25 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
Thought Pat could ease off a little bit.
Easy. Yeah. Pat's 77 himself.
Yeah.
So just easy, big fella. Like, he's been there. That's the surprising bit of the whole thing for me is that Riley's been there 27 years.
Yeah.
It feels like he's been there for 10.
Yeah.
It feels like he was in the Lakers for. Kyle, what are you going to do? He's the old thoroughbred in the barn now. Like, if it was Old Yeller, you'd have shot him.
We're not having the beep test, Pat.
No,
Like,
the
he's
easy
sitting it
big
out.
fella. No kidding.
Sitting down.
Yeah, Miami. To his credit, Miami needs another killer.
Yeah.
Like Embiid said with Jimmy Butler, but easy on Kyle. You didn't hire him as the stone cold killer either.
No.
He should get a pass just for the amount of charges he takes. Like that
Oh,
right there
sure.
should make up for not having the
But
win.
he's never been super, in my opinion, fit. He's been game shape, but I know there was criticism in Toronto. They'd wear down in the playoffs. And
Sure.
DeMar,
Yep.
and it never really
He's
went
got
over.
that baby fat.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Like Baron Davis.
Yeah,
You know?
that's right. Like Baron Davis. Yeah,
Glenn
exactly.
Davis, my guy.
Oh, big
Well.
baby. Yeah,
Big
No
baby.
kidding.
All right, this is exciting. So we brought back fair or foul by popular demand.
Yes.
I throw out a topic, and then we just say whether or not it's fair or foul. But Matt Latour got in the lab because he's the mad scientist, the maestro.
Yes.
And he put together a nice little intro piece. So, Mark, we're going to give it to you.
This
and
is
then
the first time for me.
Yeah, give us a grade.
Live
on this
reaction. Here we go.
Okay, now to be fair.
To be fair.
Foul!
Huh?
I like it.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go.
Do we drop the you got mail bit, or are you going to surprise me with
Oh,
something
no.
new there?
Emails are
that's-
still coming.
Yeah, that's still there. Don't
Don't
worry.
you worry.
Oh, okay.
Fair or foul, Pearson Airport making national headlines, international headlines even, for being an embarrassment. Fair to characterize it as such.
Air travel.
What is going on?
I know air travel to me should be so freaking simple.
They got computers everywhere. You just figure it
Everything's
out.
electronic. Like, unless you're in a power failure or something, and it's June, right? End of May. This isn't peak travel season. Like, things should be able to move at a pace that doesn't require you to check in 3 hours before. Like, that shouldn't be required.
That should have been required when everyone had to line up and go to an actual physical attendant who had to take
Yes.
their tickets and blah, blah, blah. Now
Right.
you got all these kiosks everywhere.
Legit, you should have been like 60 minutes in the door. You're already checking in on the phone when you're coming down the 115 anyways, going to the 4. Bang, bang, you're going to check in. It's going to be this and that. Bang. Okay, fine. Bags, hi, thanks. Bang, on the plane.
So I'm not an avid air traveler, but I follow enough people on social media that are. Pearson's not the only airport that deals with this. It just seems to get attacked maybe the most because I follow a lot of people from Toronto.
It's an international airport.
It's the most major hub in a country. That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but LAX is garbage too, from what I've read.
Well, okay.
I think that they're probably taking a few more planes.
Yeah.
Like this is Buffalo. Like, or no, it's not Buffalo.
Yeah.
This isn't the Buttonville Airport. Like, this thing should be buttoned up.
Can we play Ryan Whitney? So we know him. Pink Whitney, Spittin' Chicklets. He turned this in. Everybody was like, Pierre Poilievre was commenting on this. John Tory was commenting on this. It goes to show you the reach of Mr. Whitney and his brand. But here's his scenario. Listen to this. You won't even believe it.
Hey guys, Whit here. I don't even really know what to explain. So for people telling me to drive, I can't drive. They have my bags, they won't give them back. So I had Edmonton to Toronto yesterday. I landed around 3. I then had Toronto to Boston at 8:30. Customs was about 3 hours, got through, flight canceled from Toronto to Boston. All right, at this point, now I go and I see there is a 400-person line with 2 Air Canada workers. There's 1 million canceled flights. Everyone's just panicking. So I waited in that line about 6 hours. Near the end of the line, by the way, you know how much my feet hurt? Near the end of the line, they closed it. They just said, oh, you have to go somewhere else. We had to re-enter Canada. We had to go through Canadian customs. So by the time I finally see someone from Air Canada, it's 1 a.m. I said, can I just get my bags? I had a ride to Buffalo all set up, and I had a JetBlue flight from Buffalo. I just need to get out of this country, out of this airport. This is the worst airport on earth. I'm telling you, there's no other airport like this. So they say, no, you can't have your bags. Your bags are already like in the middle of no man's land. You can't have your bags. So we have a 8:50 flight for you from Toronto to Boston for this morning. This is at 1 a.m. Okay, I'd be here at 5 a.m., they said. So I got here at 4:55. I wanted to be 5 minutes early. So I wanted to be 3 hours and 55 minutes early. I get here, this woman says, oh, we booked you actually on a flight from here to Montreal and then Montreal to Boston, but that leaves in 50 minutes and you can't make it. They never sent me an email. They just, I started laughing. I mean, what are you gonna do? It was either that or like cry. So now I'm on a 10 a.m., but there's nobody really around the gate. I'm so in shock at this place. It is the biggest disgrace known to man.
I have a trip planned to Vancouver at the end of July, and I'm scared to death because I'm going to have a 4-year-old with me, and if I have to stand in a line for 3-4 hours, that's insane.
Well, that's when you just tell Mrs. M, listen, I got to...
might as well drive out there.
I got to use a washroom.
I'm saying foul on complaining about the airport. Because I feel like there's some things you just have to expect to go wrong, and the airport's one of them.
No.
And, hold on. Also, is it Pearson's fault that these flights are getting rescheduled, or is it the airliner?
Okay. I'll accept. I'll play that game.
Also, this is a guy who's flown private for the last 20 years. Of course he's going to hate a public airport experience.
Okay. I'll also play that game. But there's no... How is it there's thousands of planes that come in and out of there? Well, hundreds come in and out of there every day. And then you've got customer service like, hi, why don't you come back tomorrow? We booked you at 8:50 a.m. You're going to right to Boston. Be back here at 5 a.m. Sure thing. Oh, we took it upon ourselves to Montreal to Boston but you can't get to the gate now. It's 55 minutes. Hold the plane. Like, why don't we hold the door there? Like, what do you mean I can't get to it? In which part of the airport is it at
I'm
that
an
I
elite
can't
athlete.
get it?
I can friggin' run.
Even then, I'm 5 years out from being an elite athlete. You can hold the door. No? Yes.
But is that Air Canada doing that, or is it Pearson doing that, like redirecting all of this stuff?
I think Air Canada, the hard part about Air Canada is that, like, it's a metric for losing money. The Canadian government just continues to prop it up endlessly. It makes no money. It never has. So it's not as fun to, like, Air Canada is the worst. Like, no, Pearson is the worst. And then you just call it as what it is. Yeah, it probably is Air Canada.
It's terrible. I'm super scared. And I had a terrible airport experience myself when I was flying back from Hawaii. There was some issues with the plane where we literally got in there. Everything was cool. It was like the perfect drop off. We're all sitting down and they strung us along till about 3:00 in the morning, finally canceled our flight. And then had to book us like way back at a different hotel because all of our rooms at the resort are gone at that point. So like it was literally 7:00 in the morning and the flight was supposed to be at 9. Anyways, it was crazy. I ran into Bill Walton at the Ritz-Carlton.
Come on.
Because the NCAA always does the Maui Invitational over there.
Okay.
And it was going on. And I look around and there's like 7-foot guy on a bike. And I was like, that's Bill Walton.
Yeah, there's not too many of these. I know we don't have time for the story, but remind us one time. Remind me at some point during our podcast history about the time that our plane malfunctioned and we had to land in Greenland.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's going to be for another day.
That could be one of those evergreen episodes we're doing.
Absolutely.
Where it's just like, let's talk about Mark's travel history.
If anybody wants to email us in what's your worst airport experience or what's the most remote country you've ever been to? Greenland.
Fair or foul, the Live Golf Tour. This has been making all kinds news.
Whoa,
I'm a big Greg Norman guy. Until like this week, I didn't realize, I knew he was involved, but he's like the guy who's like going out and fetching all these people.
Yeah.
And now a lot of the players taking a little bit of heat. We know Saudi Arabia is sort of behind it.
Yeah.
I'm still not, I'm going to say foul. I'm going to say fair on the tour because I think competition is good.
Sure.
I'm also at that point where we're starting to do this now. We're holding athletes totally accountable for everything that goes on kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like Graham McDowell totally got blitzed at a press conference where they're like, oh, by the way, Graham, you're taking money from Saudi Arabia and here's like 8 terrible things that they've done in the last few months. And I don't obviously condone any of that.
Sure.
Whatever,
No,
but
of course.
I think you're a golfer and you're golfing on a tour.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
A lot of the major companies in the United States deal with China, and there's a lot of issues.
Right.
And a lot of athletes endorse movies over in China, and we don't necessarily do the same standard. I don't know.
Yeah. Bryson DeChambeau.
Yep.
Patrick Reed.
Yep.
Phil Mickelson.
Philly's a big one.
Dustin Johnson.
Dustin
of course.
Johnson. DJ. Yes. Sergio.
Apparently they offered Tiger like high 9 figures, which is crazy. Like that's like we're talking $700 million.
Well, and the money's guaranteed, right?
The money's guaranteed. That's the thing. They offered him like 4 to 5 times. It was rumored what his max that he's ever what his career earnings on the PGA was.
Yeah,
and he said no.
And another thing I read was this isn't we're waiting for a big check. Like this is literally it's deposited into your account. Like let's go.
Sure,
it's
come
like
play golf.
It's 100% like a moral thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I know I hate to bring everything back to wrestling, but WWE does these Saudi shows, and there's guys that won't go over because it's unethical and whatnot. I know John Cena did it once, but they've got money. Like I read a stat: 39 WrestleManias have not made as much money as 6 Saudi Arabia wrestling shows.
Yeah.
They shell it out, and I mean, you can call it blood money, you can call it whatever you want, you still pay for stuff with it.
I just don't look for my moral compass to be led by Graham McDowell. That's all. Like I can make my own decisions.
That's right.
If Graham wants to make a business decision,
no kidding. Like, go ahead, man. Like I know you're not personally holding women back from driving.
Yeah.
Like okay, I know that's a Saudi thing, and like way to get progressive about allowing them to drive 3 years ago. Like good for you, but that's not on Graham McDowell.
I don't know. I'm like. Yeah, it's interesting.
This thing's USFL anyways. Like it's not gonna last.
I believe we've got an email here, Matt. I don't know if
You've got mail.
You're disappointed. I thought you got new ones. Okay.
From
You've
Blake.
got mail.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite sports nicknames. I feel like we might do a show kind of devoted to this topic, but if we were just going to give the tip of the iceberg here,
yeah.
If you had to go around, maybe give 2 favorite sports nicknames. Matt's already saying Joey Jaws Chestnut.
That's
not a sport. It's
wasn't
not
even on
sports.
my radar. It's a sport.
No.
The Rocket, Maurice Richard.
Okay.
As a Habs
and you can
fan.
use Rocket in a bunch of different ways, right? Like Clemens.
Yeah.
We mentioned Rod Gilbert already. I think he was Rocket too.
And then one that I'm not a huge fan of the athlete, but it's just a cool name is Cuban Missile Crisis or Aldous Chapman. Like that's such a cool nickname.
It's not really okay. That is his, I guess, nickname on paper. I don't know how many.
It's
people...
not like he checks into the game and they call him that. But
yeah, I
it's
know.
a cool
It's like,
nickname.
here comes the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah,
that would be crazy.
I liked the Crime Dog.
Ooh,
I liked that.
Freddie.
I liked it better when Sports Desk would play on RDS. the French version, and they would call him the Canine de Criminel.
Wow.
I liked it way better as Le Canine de Criminel. Jeepers, there's been so many good ones just off. The great one is so subtle and so easy, but I mean, to be the great one, there's so many good ones, but I'll stop there.
I think I've got, and again, we'll go deeper on this, but just a few that came to my head right away, like Prime Time was great.
Oh, for
Deion
sure,
Sanders.
Deion, yeah.
And staying in football, a Heisman Trophy winner with Nebraska who went on to play for Montreal. It was a fellow by the name of...
Eric Crouch.
Eric Crouch did too, but I'm thinking Johnny Rogers back in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
So he had a couple of different nicknames, but he branded himself as the Ordinary Superstar. And I always thought that was an amazing nickname.
The Ordinary Superstar.
I'm just an ordinary superstar.
Also,
I love it.
George Rush St. Pierre always got me too. I don't know why, but it maybe it's just the way Bruce Buffer screamed it. Always got me going.
Sure.
Gentlemen, it is time now for what was once known as the Wonderful Wednesday quiz. It is now the Way Back.
Had about a 10-minute run.
And the Throttled Thursday quiz, if you're watching that on your TV.
Yeah,
Throttled? Why not Throwback?
Yeah, that's what actually the original bit was, the Throwback Thursday quiz. We used
Is
to
that
do it
right?
on Thursdays.
You
Yeah.
just like to use any word that's not...
It's alliteration. man.
All right.
Alliteration.
Famous streaks.
Oh.
Famous streaks is the category. Mm-hmm. Gentlemen, who has the record for the most consecutive scoreless innings pitched? Mark already knows it.
Yeah.
He's just like,
if we're going on
easy.
if we're going on nicknames, this guy was the Bulldog.
I don't even know who the Bulldog is. So.
Right.
Davey Boy Smith.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Oral Hershiser, 59 in the third inning.
He knows the exact number?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
well,
I stood a chance.
It was iconic.
It was iconic. The guy was unbelievable that year. He had a baseball card in 89, Donruss 89, 59 and counting. Oral.
It was Oral Hershiser, and before him, Don Drysdale had 58.
Yeah, strange. It was a Dodgers thing.
Famous quizzes or famous streaks is the category on the Way Back Wednesday quiz. 29 straight years of making the playoffs in the National Hockey League. 29
Who?
consecutive years. Who did it?
The Detroit Red Wings?
Came up short, 25.
Yeah, it came up short. The Boston Bruins.
Bonus points. Give me the tenure.
Give you the years.
Give me the span.
1970 through 2018.
No.
No.
No,
that
80
math wouldn't
80
work,
through 80 through 2019.
1968 through 96.
68 through 96. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they did have a slump there.
Yeah.
Oh my! Remind me for a
Byron
future show.
Defoe age.
Byron Defoe cost me $300 US in 2001, and that's a fact. And we're going to discuss that on another show.
Famous streaks. Oh, I stayed in hockey here. I gave you 2 hockey ones. Who is the only man not named Lemieux or Gretzky to have a point in 30 consecutive games? So Mario and Wayne did it, as you can imagine, a couple of different times. The record being 51 by Mr. Gretzky. There's only one person other than them who did do it.
Jaromir Jagr.
Good guess. No.
Damn.
Yeah, Gretz
tough
is
one.
51.
Yep.
And Mario's 44.
46.
46. So you're saying this guy was over 30?
Yes. Well, 30 on the nose.
Oh, 30 on the nose.
I have a second guess for when he...
Wow.
when
Okay.
when he goes.
Let's go. Boy, you got to think. Yari Curry.
No.
The music makes this so much more intense,
I
by
know.
the way.
You want to use the phone a friend?
Mark Messier.
Not the Moose. There's a good nickname, too.
That is a good one.
Mike Mussina also was the Moose.
Okay. The last go around here on 30 points. You're going to give me Sid the Kid.
I will give you Matt Sundin
What?
with the Quebec Nordiques.
Oh, my
wow.
goodness. I wouldn't have never guessed that one.
Iserman, shout out 28 and 89. But Matt Sundin, which one of these is not like the other?
No kidding.
No
In
kidding.
that. Last but not least, your famous streaks, most consecutive heavyweight title defenses in boxing, 26.
Jeepers. I think his picture hangs in my store.
Is it the guy right behind you?
I think his picture might be on the.
Go ahead, Latour. Say his name.
Muhammad Ali.
Oh, you picked the wrong picture, bro.
Oh, no.
It's Joe Louis.
It is the Brown Bomber.
It is the Brown Bomber.
Detroit's finest.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say Ali.
Bonus points. Give me the second man at 19. By the way, Joe Louis 37 to 49
at 19.
Yeah. Joe Louis defended it 8 times in a year.
Yeah,
like 8 times.
Different
Guys don't
era.
fight 8 times in a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Joe was a little bit different.
Yep.
The second guy at 19 straight title defenses. I feel like this is really early on too.
You going gentleman Jim Corbett?
No, I'm going
going Jack Johnson, Tommy Burns.
No. Okay, so I can tell by the
Gene Tunney.
Yeah, the way you're naming them, it's not those dudes. No. So I'm gonna go. I know it's not Ali because Ali had
relatively
too many,
modest.
Yeah, he had too many breaks in the streak.
Is it a Klitschko?
It is not. I'll give you this one. It was, I think, a forgotten heavyweight. Actually, it was Larry Holmes.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Damn.
Larry.
We do famous streaks and you don't bring up The Undertaker. Like I was waiting for it. That kills me.
We've cornered the market on wrestling content on this.
Yeah, right.
Goldberg? Come on.
Hey, you want to make a new sound bit? You can like have a that's enough wrestling talk. Like you can have one like that.
Our man Jeff Dewick would endorse that. He used to give us trouble for talking.
If you want to give
wrestling.
me a clean recording right now of you saying no more wrestling, we'll use it.
Coming down in 3, 2, 1. That's enough wrestling talk.
Did I ruin that?
No, you're good.
I might have ruined that. That is the Way Back Wednesday quiz. Awesome show today, gentlemen. Anyone tuning in, of course, we're very satisfied with our partnership with Your TV, Peterborough Lindsay. I know this show loops back a couple of different times. Yeah. You can find us on all the streaming platforms as well, and wherever you do your podcast downloading, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Those seem to be the major ones. But gentlemen, that was a good one.
Yeah. That's 2 in the jar here. The TV studio feels good. It's cozy.
Yeah.
It's nice and cool.
Table's not as cold.
No, yeah. I know. What a disappointment.
I know. I miss coming in here and getting goosebumps.
I know.
From the table.
I actually preferred it cool, but just like me, it's not.
Gentlemen, have yourself a fantastic week. We will meet again at this time next week. For Mark Million, Matt Latour, fact checker Brett Black.
Yes, that's right.
Did an outstanding job. I'm Jordan Mercier. This has been the Capital PTBO Sports Show produced by MNC Podcast Productions.